All right, in this video we are going to show you how to build a composter like this one. We'll actually show you us building this one here. This is a 3-bay system, really good for efficient, effective composting. First bay is for your active pile. That's where your food scraps are going to go in, where you're adding. Anytime you're taking your compost out, that's where you're adding your food scraps. Second bin is for your resting pile, so that's a finished pile, just going to sit and continue to break down. You're not adding to that, you're just getting ready to use that next season. And third bay is for your carbon source, so that can be wood chips if you have access to wood chips. It can be wood shavings if you have access to that. It could be just leaves that you rake up from your property to use for composting, but important to have a carbon source to add to your compost. That's a really important part of the composting process, and it's really, really helpful to have it close by, really accessible, so that you have it on hand when you add food scraps to your active pile. You can just throw carbon right in. The other really great part of this system, this kind of system, is that it has these slats that do need to be trimmed off. We haven't done that yet, but slats that come up, these boards slide right off, so you can really easily access your pile. That way when you have a finished pile, you can rake it out, or when you want to bring your active pile into your resting bin, it's really easy to access, it's really easy to get in and out of. But when you're not actively taking material out, slats go right in and make it so that the pile's not spilling out. Protects it a little bit more from animals. Certainly for me, it's helpful. It protects it from my dog getting into it whenever she comes outside. So this is a really important part of that. Quick note about materials that we used. We've got pallets here, 4 of them that create the bins themselves. And we used 1x material for everything else. We have 1x4s there along the back to create the back edge of our bin system. These are 1x14s. They can be 1x anything you can get, but we liked the wide boards so that we'd have less in and out when we're removing and putting in the slats. And then this here is a 1x14 that was ripped down to be 1x7. This board here, in conjunction with a 1x3 on the back, is what creates the channel for the slats here to slide into. And you'll see some close-ups of that in the stills. Now I'll show you the build in action. Okay, now I have just filled my second bin, my resting bin, with my existing compost. You can see in here it is now almost completely full. I still have a little bit of material that I will get in there. I want it to be as full as I can get it before I leave it for the winter. More material will mean more heat. It will be able to retain more heat with more material in it. Some of you might be thinking, what a pain to have to move all that material, but it's really good to move. I was happy to do it. It flips the material, so the most recently added is now on the bottom. That's one really good thing. The other thing when you move the pile or flip the pile is it aerates it, which is important in keeping the microbes happy, the bacteria that's doing all the hard work. The other thing is that it gives me some feedback. I had two piles going. One was mostly bedding, the other one was food waste, and I was able to see that one of my piles, the bedding pile, wasn't as wet as I'd like. It needed a little bit more moisture, so that was good feedback. And I was also able to see that my other pile had earthworms and things like that, which was a good sign. And good to have that kind of feedback as you're trying to improve your composting systems. Okay, and then last step of the day is that I'm going to add my first pail of compost to my new working pile. So this will be the pile where I add food scraps and carbon. I have wood chips, wood shavings right now. That's what I'm going to be using. But my first pile will go in. I'm going to dump it right in. And I have a shovel here. I'm going to chop it up just to help the decomposition process a little bit. The smaller the material, the faster it breaks down, the easier that will happen. So I'm going to add it in. Chop it up, and then I'll add carbon to it, and that will be the very start of my new pile. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires you to do some composting in your backyard or to improve on a system that you already have in place. Happy composting!